Greetings to the Vice Chancellor, Professor Motwa, DVC, Dean of Students, Mr. Lutando Jack, Director of Student Governance, Dr. Swagi, Ms. Nozvele Mayaba, Mr. Machila, Mr. Mpepo, the leadership of the SRC and the student populace of Nelson Mandela University. It is in my nature to always confirm that my name is Ponso Tlongwane. The students of Nelson Mandela University charged me with the responsibility to lead at the helm of the Student Representative Council. I want to believe I require no introduction, but for the record, I am the President of the Student Representative Council. It is with great honor to stand in front of you today and giving opening remarks. First and foremost, let me extend my apologies to students who are watching live due to COVID-19 pandemic, cognizant of the country being on alert level 3. Thank you very much for honoring the invitation and welcome to Nelson Mandela University. This is a hybrid event to launch the campaigns of Madibaz SRC, which are mental health awareness, gender-based violence awareness, and COVID-19 awareness. Today at Nelson Mandela University, we find ourselves confronted with triple pandemics which cannot be ignored. The Student Representative Council, as the Student Representative Council, we cannot afford to delay our urgent intervention to educate, curb, and contain the spread of these pandemics. It is against this background that we find ourselves in this venue in an attempt to find solutions to our societal problems and pandemics. On mental health awareness, by mental health, we refer to the cognitive, behavioral, emotional well-being of students. It is mainly about how students think, feel, and behave. Mental health affects our daily living, relationships, and physical health and our academic performance. Taking care of your own mental health involves reaching a balance between life activities, responsibilities, and efforts to achieve psychological resilience. As a student, reaching a balance is a big ask. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, around 20% of the world's children and adolescents have a mental health condition, with suicide the second leading cause of death among 15 to 29 years olds. Approximately 1 in 5 people in post-conflict settings have mental health conditions. Mental health conditions can have a substantial effect on all areas of life, such as school performance, relationships with family and friends, and ability to participate in the community. 2 of the most common mental health conditions, depression and anxiety, cost the global economy $1 trillion each year. Despite these figures, the global median of government health expenditure that goes to mental health is less than 2%. In actual words, mental health is less of a priority to the government. Majority of young people who struggle to handle mental health triggers often succumb to the temptation to take their own lives. On gender-based violence awareness campaign, gender-based violence is a phenomenon deeply rooted in gender inequality and continues to be one of the most notable human rights violations within all societies. Gender-based violence is violence directed against persons because of their gender. Both women and men experience gender-based violence, but the majority of victims are females. Many forms of violence against women are rooted in power inequalities between women and men in a white supremacist patriarchal society. The World Bank recently reported that 35% of women worldwide have experienced either physical or sexual intimate partner violence or non-partner violence. Globally, 7% of women have been sexually assaulted by someone other than a partner, and as many as 38% of matters of women are committed by intimate partner. Gender-based violence is not only devastating for survivors of violence and their families, but also entails significant social and economic costs. In some countries, violence against women is estimated to cost the country up to 3.7% of their GDP, more than double what governments spend on education. Failure to address gender-based violence by this generation entails a significant cost for the future. Numerous studies have shown that children growing up with violence are more likely to become survivors themselves or perpetrators of violence in the future. I must say that decreasing violence against women requires a community-based, approach and sustained engagement with multiple stakeholders. As students in institutions of higher learning, we must be strategic and scientific in our approach to analyze this global pandemic that affects 1 in 3 women in their lifetime in order to be able to address this scourge, not as a rhetorical flourish, but affirmation to support projects and knowledge products aimed at preventing and addressing gender-based violence. We therefore challenge the university as the only institution in the world to carry the name of Socialist Nelson Mandela to invest in research, learning, and collaboration with stakeholders around the world to address gender-based violence. The most effective initiatives addresses underlying risk factors for violence, including norms regarding gender roles and the acceptability of violence. Addressing gender-based violence requires significant learning and knowledge sharing through awareness campaigns and long-term programs. On COVID-19 awareness campaign, coronavirus has developed into one of the most concerning diseases as rapidly progressed to a pandemic in a very short time. It has caused major damage to our education sector and the economy at large. According to the Department of Health, 11,676 new COVID-19 cases were reported in South Africa on yesterday, bringing the total number of active cases across the country to 104,437, with 100 more people succumbing to COVID-19 as death toll climbs to 58,323. Eastern Cape accounted 3% of the new cases on Thursday. As students, we must play an active role to keep the numbers in our institution, the metro, and the province at large at a minimum. A total of 1,871,982 vaccines had been administered by yesterday, with our institution actively participating in the administration of vaccine to its staff and surrounding community about the age of 60 years. Participation of students on this awareness campaign is an important and most effective approach for controlling the spread of novel coronavirus. However, considering its novel nature, it is important to create awareness among the public to be able to take timely preventative measures. On the contrary, misinformation and myth from social media resulting in severe damages in mitigation of this novel disease. For instance, the stigmatization of vaccine, despite the evidence from clinical trials that the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine was 95% effective at preventing laboratory-confirmed COVID-19 illness in people aged 16 years and older without evidence of previous infection. Lack of awareness can result in serious outcomes in relation to COVID-19. Effective awareness campaigns, including relevant information from reliable sources, can improve the knowledge of people, and they must be effective in developing positive attitudes among the public toward adopting preventative measures. The purpose of our campaign is to ensure that our student community is educated on how can they save themselves and others from the triple pandemics. As the Student Representative Council, our campaigns target the students and aims at ensuring the continuation of precaution measures against the health hazards of COVID-19, the importance of taking care of your own mental health for your well-being, and positively participate to stop gender-based violence. The campaign will include awareness videos, educational dialogues, and resident visits, which will last for the remainder of the academic calendar. Amandla.
Good day to all the students of Nelson Mandela University. My name is Senator Zagile Mpanza, and I serve as the Secretary General of the SRC. Today, we are launching our campaigns, which is COVID-19 compliance, gender-based violence awareness, and mental health awareness. Right now, our next speaker is going to be the Dean of Students, Mr. Lutando Jack, who's going to speak on the compliance of COVID-19. As we've seen the rise in numbers and as the President of the Republic of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, has addressed us that we have moved to level 3. The Dean is going to take us through what we need to do to be responsible for each other and each other's lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. Good day to our students, the students of Mandela University, our guest speaker, Nozbele, and thank you so much for coming back to your alma mater. Looking forward to listening to your message today. President of the SRC. Firstly, let me say congratulations to our SRC for having embarked, on this noble, very necessary initiative of launching a 3-in-1 campaign focusing on gender-based violence, on a fight against gender-based violence. Something that has been characterized as the second pandemic, in our country, and a campaign against COVID-19, which really came into our shores last year, and it has really changed our lives. The Organization of Human Affairs will never be the same. And then, of course, the whole challenge of mental health, which is also affecting our students quite a lot, and we see that manifesting itself, in various ways in our university. So congratulations to the SRC, for having embarked, on this noble campaign. Of course, I've been asked by the SRC to speak about COVID in terms of what it is that we need to do as the student community to fight as a collective, as a unit, as a community, to fight this scourge. But as I was saying earlier on, we mustn't see COVID in isolation. We must see COVID in the context of mental health. We must also see COVID also in the context of our fight, against gender-based violence. So we've got to fight all these ills, if you like, together, as the student community. So my belief is that health is wealth. If you are healthy, then you've got capability, you've got capacity to do all these things that you've got to do, in life. You will be able to realize your aspirations, as a student. You'll be able to fulfill your dreams. Why? Because you are healthy. So we've got to really look after ourselves as students. We've got to take this campaign up to ourselves. We must be each other's keeper. We must look at each other. We've got to realize that wherever we are, we live in shared spaces. So therefore, we must be able to call in each other, in order. If one is not wearing a mask, we must be able to say, look, you're not wearing a mask. It's not just a danger to yourself, it's also a danger to myself as well. But you're wearing a mask. It's not just a protection to, you will not be just protecting yourself, but you'll also be protecting us as well. Particularly, in our residencies and as well as in our various interactions, as students, we've got to truly live like a community. We've got to exercise the African philosophy of Ubuntu that umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. You are because I am because you are, which therefore means that we are connected, as human beings. We are connected as a people. As a people, we've got a shared destiny. As a people, we've got a shared future. As a people, we really have got a shared prosperity. But if we don't comply, we are incompliant, to the COVID rules. We don't wear masks. We don't physically distance. We don't sanitize. We don't party. We don't go to spaces that we don't have to go to. Really, we'll be not just compromising ourselves, we'll be compromising those that are close to us, we'll be compromising fellow students, we'll be compromising our lecturers, and many other people, who are connected, to our lives. So today, it's about us renewing our resolve, to take responsibility for our health, to look after ourselves. We are there as a university to support you, and what we are calling for a collective journey. Let's journey together, as we fight against COVID. Let's not just prioritize our academics. In the course of prioritizing our academics, we've got to also save lives. So it is in your hands. Your future is in your hands, but your future is also connected to our own futures as well. Because all of us, we are one people. We are for humanity. We are one humanity. And again, let's exercise Ubuntu at all material times, and let's live like true Africans. So with those few words, I'm just calling upon you, and to renew your resolve, your commitment to the fight, against COVID-19. Thank you so much, Program Director.
And now introducing our guest speaker, Mrs. Nozibele Amngana Mayaba. Diagnosed with HIV and AIDS in 2013, Nozibele uses her own story to inspire, engage, and educate others on issues relating to health and HIV. She has made it her mission to hold open conversations about her journey, as she has a YouTube channel that has over 100,000 subscribers and 6 million views, and has launched her book, I Am Still Me, that has sold over 3,000 copies since its launch in May 2020. This book is a combination of stories that have shaped the life that Nozibele has lived, and the life that she has lived since when she was a child. Born as a result of an affair and raised by a single mother who mopped the corridors of a TB hospital, she details the hardships of trying to navigate life as an illegitimate child. Her recognitions are as follows. She was part of the Nelson Mandela Chamber Top 40 Under 40 Achiever, Businesswoman Association of South Africa Regional Achievers Award, Fruits of Democracy Award winner, Civil Society, Vision for Women Beyond the Balance Sheet Award finalist, and South African International Youth Committee Ambassador. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Nozibele Amngana Mayaba. Thank you.
To the executive of the Nelson Mandela University, the executive of the Nelson Mandela University SRC, guests, students, the entire Nelson Mandela University community, thank you so much for affording me the opportunity to be with you today. Before I continue with my talk for today, I would like to highlight two things. Firstly, returning here has brought a lot of memories. It was the middle of 2007 when I decided to take a taxi from New Brighton to come here. Circumstances at home had made me believe that I didn't belong here. As I walked the corridors, I thought to myself, you do not belong here. But in my true strong-willed attitude, I pushed through and wanted to prove that I could make something of myself. Many years later, 3 qualifications down, remembering that day, I don't regret making the decision to visit this institution. Secondly, let me take the opportunity to applaud the SRC team for organizing this event. During my time, I do not remember ever attending such an event. Maybe that's because I was never part of anything. That's the one thing I regret even today. I was a so-called nerd. I believed anything that didn't form part of academics was going to distract me. I missed the opportunity to connect. I missed the opportunity to be part of a bigger community, part of a bigger cause. And it's a lesson that I'm still learning today. To the SRC executive, may you always remember who you represent. I was given a brief talk or brief summary of what I should talk about. And they said I should talk about my story with a special focus on mental health. Due to circumstances at home, I was forced to work at 12 years old. I lost part of my childhood because I had become an adult from a young age. The moment that the money that Ma was getting every month working as a cleaner was not enough to carry our family. My father, who up until at that point in my life was not part of my life, agreed that I could work at a supermarket on weekends and school holidays. On payday, I knew that the money did not belong to me. I gave it all to my mother, who would buy all the necessities for our home. I learned responsibility from a young age. Earlier, I talked about coming here and not knowing exactly what I wanted to do. I walked into the admissions office and a lady asked me, "So, what qualification do you want to pursue?" I honestly did not know. I had never taken the time to explore my interests. I did not know what I was good at. I did not have any hobbies. I couldn't envision my future in 10 years. And that's because I had not been given the opportunity to do so. After my brother failed to make it past his first year of university, my mother had convinced myself and the rest of the family that I will also follow suit. Like my brother, the best thing I could do was to finish matric and get a job at what was called Finra Cash and Carry at the time, earning 160 Rand a week. From an early age, it came naturally to me to be a carrier. I was a transporter, a hero, someone who came in to save the day. Don't worry, Onozi will come in and make a plan. This reminds me actually of a short story. So this one morning, my brother called me and said that his car had broken down and he needed my help. So without hesitation, even though I had never pulled a car in my entire life, I went in to help. The mechanic, the distance rather from our house to the mechanic was a mere 10 kilometers. But it took us 1 hour to get to the mechanic because every 500 meters, the rope will break. And then funeke siphumile, sibophe le ntambo, and then get a move on again, only for the rope to break again after 500 meters. There was a moment I looked at this situation, and as I was pulling my brother behind, I realized that I've always been a carrier. My back was almost broken because of the load that was too heavy. The difficulty was that I did not know how to carry off the load of my back. I've always been Miss Life of the party. Her presence is felt whenever she's around. She always makes us laugh. There's never a dull moment with her. Yo, unozi, yabona ba ukhona, siyazi ba uzosihlekisa. And it actually made me feel good that I had that influence on other people. August of 2013, I was diagnosed with HIV. At 22, for the first time, I had carelessly slept with someone not knowing their status. I had been under the impression that because I knew I was safe, I had no reason to worry. The diagnosis shook me to the core. But what made it harder is not knowing whether those around me will be able to handle the news. I remember the day of the diagnosis. For some odd reason, they had set up now this Wellness Day event at work, and they used one of the big boardrooms. And to divide it, they used cubicles. But then if you projected loud enough, you could literally hear the conversation of the other people on the other side. I remember the nurse bringing 2 HIV tests in front of me and saying that I was HIV positive. I had been so worried that someone may have heard her giving my results. I remember walking out of that boardroom, having pulled everything within me to walk out as the same person I walked in, if not more. I didn't have the time to break down. I didn't have the time to show any emotion. I hid my status from everyone for 6 years. I was still Miss Life of the party. My presence was still felt when I was around. I still made everyone laugh. There was no dull moment when I was around. That alone almost took me out completely. There were moments where I felt breathless. literally, only to wake up the following day, dig deep into that tank, and try again. No one noticed a thing. My mom did notice. My brother didn't notice. My friends, my colleagues. To them, I was still the same nosy. I was still their carrier, their transporter, their hero, someone who came in to save the day. But in all honesty, I was not okay. The first thing I would like to highlight pertaining to mental health is mental health does not discriminate. As a student for many years, I understand that there's so much pressure upon you. Some of you, like me, it took a lot for you to be here. More than 50% of your classmates didn't go past matric, and not because they were not smart. Unfortunately, it all boiled down to financial constraints. NSFAS is overburdened and cannot accommodate for the need in our country. Some of you will be the first generation of graduates in your family. That alone is also pressure. They can't wait for you to finish school and take on the responsibility of carrying the family forward. In fact, you are already carrying the family forward because you have to halve your NSFAS allowance so that your siblings can go to school. While planning for a future you're not sure of, you are faced with systematic racism in higher education institutions. You know you're very smart, but you are reduced to a fail because you cannot differentiate between illustration and describing. And you're preparing for the supplementary test at the beginning of the year only to be met by your next door neighbor asking you, when are you graduating? Most recently, the dire impact of COVID is undeniable. We're losing people who held us down. We're losing our parents. We're losing our strongholds. We don't have time to break down because the world around us has continued to survive without our loved ones. And so, we are forced to do so as well. Then, we have what we call the nice life problems. Jessica van de Kam, that's sitting next to you, was sent to the best schools. She didn't lack anything. She comes from a lineage of academics, doctors, engineers. Goodness gracious, she comes to school sometimes on a dad's Jeep. With all that access to money and resources, she's out here studying ERT, she's studying music because she wants to open a music studio. And you look at her and you're thinking to yourself, gosh, if I had that kind of money, what will I be doing? We don't expect the likes of Jessica to have any issues because she has what we desire for ourselves. That's not true. Mental health, like rain, does not choose the grass in which it falls. Our circumstances may differ from one person to the next, but where we cross is a point where we feel inadequate, where we feel out of control and emotionally exhausted. Yesterday, I was on the SRC page as soon as they posted that I was coming to join this event. I saw a comment from a gentleman, not sure whether, they should come to the event because all the ladies were excited because they wanted to come to the event after they saw I was going to attend. I saw one saying, "Nathi siyafuneka bra. Kaloku thina singobhuti, into zamalady ezi." Mental health does not discriminate. We deal with broken men in our society who do not have platforms to come out and be heard. We raise boys with the understanding that they should toughen up and be a man. I watched a snippet of an interview with Oprah and Prince Harry. It struck me when he said he had a conversation with his dad about the difficulty of having to navigate his life as a royal. The reply from his dad was, "Well, I dealt with it. It won't be any different for you." So, what I'm trying to say, in our attempt to shed more light about mental issues, may our interventions be representative, not only for one racial group, gender, sexual orientation, or belief, but for all. Vulnerability is strength. I've come to understand that it's not emotional pain that almost killed me, but it was running away from it that almost destroyed me. I had to allow, embrace, let myself feel, and let myself heal. I annoy my PR team a lot. I share the most sensitive parts of myself on social media. I share the most vulnerable. At times, it even scares me. It's not far-fetched for me to wake up, ndinamancanca, elinye lijonge kwekuqala, elinye lijonge kwekuqala, and take a picture and say, I woke up like this. I do it intentionally because it relieves me of the pressure of measuring up to standards I cannot meet. We live in a world that is very pretentious, critical. Everything must fit into certain boxes. Singathetha, but singathethi kakhulu. We encourage to share, gender-based violence stories, but then in the same breath, we need to explain what we did to push him to the level where he felt he needed to hit us. Kahleni bo bethuna. We advocate for mental health awareness, yet we are the very same people that question why we chose to share our stories on social media. Gaba, we have categories and policies in these things. I love this quote so much that talks about vulnerability. It says, vulnerability is terrifying. The courage it takes to reveal your heart is one of the most daunting, but yet the most rewarding experiences in life. It will set you free. It has certainly set me free. Lastly, if there's anything that you could ever remember from my talk today, it's this. You are no one's hero if you're not your own. I'm going to repeat that. You are no one's hero if you are not your own. It took me a lot for me to be selfish, to practice saying no more often. It took me a lot to be more assertive, vocal to things that affect my overall health and happiness. By the time I was 22, I was in so much debt, they had already sent me to a credit bureau. All because I could not say no. I had to be a hero to everyone except me. I carelessly fell pregnant 9 months after my HIV diagnosis because I could not say no when my then boyfriend wanted us to have unprotected sex. There's no glory in sacrificing yourself to make others happy. That's not sustainable. Do not burn yourself to keep others warm. For goodness sake, they must make their own damn fire. So lastly, be easy on yourself. Honestly, be easy on yourself. You are not alone, and as I always say on social media, I am you and you are me. Once again, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the SRC for inviting me to this initiative. And given the circumstances of today, I do promise that I will be back once everything is back to normal and the COVID regulations have been less tightened. Thank you so much.
Now, please welcome Dr. Sibake, the Director of Student Governance and Development.
Thank you very much, Program Director, for the opportunity you have afforded me, to be the last to speak, really after a lot of work and a lot of messaging has been sent through. I think it is an honor today to be standing here to really share with Nelson Mandela University students, Nelson Mandela University community, on very pertinent issues that affect all of us on a day-to-day basis of our lives. Let me take this opportunity to really thank the SRC under the leadership of Bonso Hlongwane for really thinking through and really be part of the civil society in really, foregrounding a campaign that has to do with issues that really undermine human development. Today, the SRC has decided to launch a bigger campaign of them all, which is against GBV, which is also against your COVID-19, and indeed the bigger problem of the society which undermine human development, which is mental health. I think it's important to really thank the SRC on the basis that they've really hit the call. And I think it is a thought process that resonates with who we are. It also shows that as the university, we are indeed a microcosm of the society. Let me thank also the organizers for really putting up together this important, moment of reflection, which we really have to comfort ourselves in this period, which is not fashionable for all of us. Our guest speaker, Nozibele Mayaba, for really wonderful words the journey and the experience that you have shared with us today was really incredible. We learn from each other. We learn from all our, journey as we go through the journey of life collectively. So I think I want to take this opportunity to thank you really from the deeper sense of my heart for the wonderful lessons that you presented this morning. Let me also thank the Dean of Students for really have decided to really put up his words to this particular gathering and share with us the purpose of why this bigger campaign is really taking place. By so saying that, let me take this opportunity to really put a special thank to our guest speaker, Nozibele Mayaba. Normally, at Mandela University, we make sure that as you come, as you leave, you also ensure that our emblem, we give this token of appreciation. It's part of being African in our approach. On behalf of the organizers, the SRC in particular, and on behalf of the university, thank you very much for being with us, and thank you very much. Even tomorrow when we call, let it be the case. Thank you very much. In saying so, I wish to take this opportunity again to thank everyone who really plugged in to be with us today. Thank you very much.